welcome back Above Spirituality Season 2. We're continuing on with our theme of being off-site. Rip Nils' apartment. We do miss you. And we miss you too, Nils. But we are also continuing the theme of interviewing artists and art-related things. I am here today with my good friend Versace. She is a local Chicago artist, student, graduate of the Chicago Art Institute. And we are now here in Hook Space at the Fine Arts Building on Michigan Avenue. How are you doing, Versace?
Hi, I'm Versace. I'm doing well.
Well, we're glad to have you. Now, I'm so glad because, we've been friends for a little while now. Shout out Heidi, one of our favorite artists who did introduce us. And I'm really happy for today because I have been bugging Versace to show me her art or to let me see her art. And she put me off for so long. And then finally she was like, okay, you can come down to the studio. And I was like, okay, great, except I'm way too busy and I can't come. Yeah. But now finally I've gotten to see some of her pieces, which are up behind us. Mm-hmm. And the name of this collection is actually very relevant to Above Spirituality. What were you calling this collection again?
It's called Spiritual Awakening.
See, spiritual art, spiritual podcast. It works together.
Yeah, it does.
Now, Versace, just starting it off, what inspired you to make a spiritual collection of art?
I think the Spiritual Awakening really gives me a chance to show how the soul works with the universe. And through my meditation and Reiki healing, I really see what exactly I want from my intuition, whereas I have to find an object or what's the best with the society to draw. So the Spiritual Awakening really just gives me more opportunity to find myself.
What would you say, was there something that kind of got you started on a spiritual awakening recently? Because I really want to touch a lot of subjects, but we'll come back to those in a second. Mm-hmm. But sorry, what I was going to say, what I said was there something that inspired, spiritual awakening, or is it just kind of more one day you just felt your heart called to it?
I think especially when I was in the nature and forest and through the wind, also when I walk, having a lot of fresh air, I would find myself more calm and peaceful. And during those times, I wouldn't have as much chaotic thoughts, and through my life, it just more caused me through the heart. And in that time, I feel my art is really spiritual, a time of spiritual awakening from the heart.
That's so interesting because I was just speaking last week with a woman named Melody who is president of the Hairpin Art Center, and she was talking about how art gets us connected to ourselves and to others. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. So you're saying that in a more present-minded, calm state, that's when you felt your spiritual self?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really feel that.
And obviously I'm looking around at your collection, and these are the reflections of the different spiritual feelings that came out from within. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What do you feel is the connection between art and spirituality? Because obviously, this is a literally spiritual art collection, but but art can be many different topics. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a connection just between art and spirituality?
Yeah, I do feel every time I do art, it's such a healing process, and it wouldn't come from any other kind of platform, either from music or writing. It's more painting is going to put a canvas of colors and how you feel at that moment. And that moment is very healing, and it gives a spiritual intuition giving on the canvas.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of this really good book, called The Shack, which is a Christian book, but they had a different view. And one of the characters is the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit shows the main character all these people, and she says, I just see them as colors. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the connection of color to our inner spirit?
Yeah, I do feel that too. So some of the color represent earthy color, brown color. It's more of money and finance. And some color like white, it's more pure. It's like how the soul is very originally like clarifying. And maybe green represents peacefulness and time that you just feel like, oh, it's more relaxed. And blue kind of is more a color that is logical and gives my more a mindset of how logical my thinking is. So each color has different representative and it gives different feelings too.
Now that's so interesting. Do you think that's like something that's more personal to you or kind of like universal for everybody?
I think it is universal to everybody, but at the same time, when I represent it, I also give my own way to put it into my painting. Yeah.
Now, I'm looking around and our audience won't be able to see all the collection right now, although I'm sure we'll get some shots on the Instagram page or maybe in the YouTube video. That's up to Alexander. Shout out, Alexander. Shout out these microphones. Whole story there. But anyway, I'm noticing a lot of colors such as purple and orange. So what do those colors kind of represent to your spiritual self?
Orange and yellow represent more warm color, and I think it gives a vibrance of the sun, in which the light that goes through our heart. And purple, I think it's more mysterious. It has a little bit more of imagination and just having fun in your life.
So that's also so interesting because like when you talk about a lot of spiritual people are super into yoga and of course the chakras, which are like the rainbow colors. And the purples, and more specifically, I guess you would say would you say that's like a violet or more of a magenta, right?
Yeah, violet and purple, yeah.
These kind of colors represent like the highest chakra, at least according to many people's beliefs. And that is a very vibrant and like high spiritual color. So did you like know about that kind of like that yoga thing with the chakras before you did it, or did you just pick these colors because they felt like what was spiritual to you?
I did know the color, like the knowledge of color maybe years ago, but when I do those painting, I kind of just go intuitionally for them. Yeah.
Try to keep the mic just a little bit closer.
Yeah, there's no like specific like meaning right away.
So there wasn't any thought like, because I know I sometimes, because I get very in my head, and I'm like, if I want to like pick the color, it's like, oh, it's spiritual. So I think logically I should use like a purple or something. But you're saying you didn't do that. That was just the color you felt intuitively.
Yeah. So before I would be like, okay, there's specific brush stroke, there's specific color I want to pick for certain emotion, certain thing that I want to give out to the world. But later on, it's more with the flow, with like the grace of the brush stroke. It just gets more and more relaxed after I do meditation, spiritual.
That's so interesting because it's like sometimes I've had some like doubts with like the colors with like the chakras because I don't really know where that comes from, and it seems a little suspicious to me that everyone just like, oh yeah, that's totally what Indian people think and it must be right, and no, I don't really know why specifically people did that. So it is kind of interesting that like independently you kind of had the same realization in your heart. Now you were telling. Now obviously they can't see. They'll see it in the thumbnail. This is the main piece of the collection, right?
Yes.
And it was titled. This one is titled Spiritual Awakening.
Yeah.
Tell me about this piece.
So this piece is where I feel like I finally find what I want to do in my life, and I don't doubt myself anymore. And this center is the crystal of the heart chakra, and at the same time, it's awakening. So it's a moment that I feel like a lot of people have their path and their calling where they're gonna do, and it's no more fear and no more doubts with what's gonna happen. And this center chakra means very strong and the confidence of knowing to own themselves and having more confident of in the future what they're gonna do.
Gosh, the more I look at it, the more I like really get into it. It's kind of interesting how on the print it's like, because it's a little smaller and focused, I'm like, more drawn into some of the sharpness of the details, and like the actual painting is a little bit softer, which is kind of an interesting trick of the medium. But like, I'm so interested because people, I think, don't always, when they think about like spiritual stuff and they think about like spiritual qualities, they think of like peace or wisdom or like love. And with the heart, you think of love.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you said was like the strength, which to me, I would say it's like that power is actually a great, is one of the primary qualities of spirituality. And so you're saying that like your spiritual awakening was a sense of strength within yourself.
Yeah, it's a sense of strength, at the same time a sense of loving, that's to give out the world of the art career I want to through. But at the same time, I find out when I'm talking to a lot of my friends, they also have the moment of they know what they're gonna do in the future. And that moment is how they feel like the universe is calling them. That's like the moment. I know this is going to be my future plan, and this is going to be what I want to do, and that's like a happy and like the moment that's like really a spiritual awakening. Yeah.
It's interesting. There was an author named Wayne Dyer, and he wrote a whole book about a similar concept. He called it the quantum moment, although I don't know if he made up that term. So then do you see this as more of like an instant in time, or just something that you carry with you?
It's also more having like a control of in the future what's the best to do. Yeah.
So another aspect of this particular piece that I really love is that white in the center. And you called that the crystal, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think a lot of spiritual people associate like white and they associate like crystals with kind of like a light. And, you know, they associate spirituality with like a light. What is to you like the connection between like light, art, and like the spiritual self?
Light represent to me as a source of loving energy. And no matter what other struggle that you're going through, there's always to be a light that guides you through in your life, and it's something that you feel like it's not giving up on you.
That's so interesting because I was for a long time in a spiritual school, and we talked about the symbol of light a lot, and we said that light is like awareness. And that, what you said, gave me a whole new perspective because it's kind of like that's like the guiding, because I see the way to go, and like you're saying, with the spiritual awakening, there is this sense of I know, of purpose. What would you say kind of like the clouds represent in the painting, if anything?
The cloud is more just being free and being fun. Throughout the way like to going forward in our future, there might be lots of like negativity, struggles, and difficulties that's come along the way. But the pinky and cloudy is always like a ground that's more fun, just relax.
Yeah. Our audience won't know this, but you know, Ms. Versace and I just went out to get some food, and we were having a lot of fun. And oh gosh, I just lost it. Oh, we were talking, and we were talking about different types of spirituality, and I was reading a book called Republic of Mind and Spirit. It's a history of religion in America, and the author was saying that there's like some spirituality that's very mind-based, and there's some spirituality that's very heart-based. It kind of seems to me like in your journey with art, that you kind of went from more mind to heart. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it's more heart. From mind to heart, yes. So in the past, I have more structure of like writing down, maybe journaling, and then kind of analyze more from like a mindset. And afterwards, through meditation, Reiki healing, you just feel it from your heart. Like there's a spiritual guide that's guiding you what to do. And very randomly, there might be people in your life that's you very rarely you would notice, even strangers on different events. It's gonna guide you through where your path is.
So that's so interesting because, like, in one way, like, because you've been practicing art for obviously a while now. So in one way, like, your art was originally something you thought about and you thought through, like you used your head. And then kind of separate from that, you were getting involved in more like classically spiritual things like Reiki and meditation. And you doing those practices changed how you did art, or was that kind of like, was there another influence, or would you say that was the main influence?
I would say it's always along the way, because I've been practicing it for more than 10 years. And throughout the years, in the very beginning, it's more analysis of like my brain, what's exactly happening, and I would write it down and use a way to analyze it about my future decision. But the more I practice, the easier it gets. It doesn't have to be like a very specific, logical way. It comes from the heart that you kind of know what you want to do.
Do you think you would have made that kind of growth? Oh, I'm just noticing there's like a heart in this painting behind me. I didn't see that before. That's kind of fun. Sorry, I got off track. Would you say that, like, do you think you would have made kind of like that growth from more mind to heart in your art if you had not done stuff like meditation and Reiki?
Yeah, I would say before I practice meditation, I would have like a way of what is a good art, or what is meant to be successful, or what art is like making more money, or the society might like it. And logically, I will write it down and have like a specific composition, or maybe color-wise, or how the Asian way of people doing it, instead of what my heart is calling me. So from time to time, I become more confident of my heart that is giving me the color I wanted. The composition is more free since what I see in the nature and what I've captured with my eyes.
That's so interesting because I've talked to a lot of people over this last like year and a half that we've been doing this project. And it is interesting to see how people develop into their heart, because some spirituality can be very of the mind, but there's this whole important aspect of the heart, and it's so cool to see how it's like different and the same in different types of things you do in your life. Like, you know, when you talk to someone who does like business, you talk about someone who does art. But I want to ask you this. What do you think is the spirituality of creating art? Like, how would you answer that question?
Spirituality.
What's the spiritualness of making art to you?
I think it's through energy. So when I meet somebody or what I've experienced in the past, there's always energy in those places or people. And through spirituality, I would make those energy into a painting and to express how my experiences are. Yeah.
I'm so intrigued by you saying that because, you know, I'm really not an artist. I've talked about it on the show before that I've only ever painted like two things. One when I was like 6, and the other one was at a sip and paint class. And I had this great artist who was also an Asian fella, and he was just so much fun. And I never thought I could make something like that. You'll have to do a painting class for me, but never mind.
Sure.
What was I gonna say? So what I'm trying to say is that I don't know much about what it takes to make like these beautiful paintings that I'm surrounded by. But I have a theory, and I'd like to know what you think about it. You know, my theory is that inside of us, the part that you would call like your soul, it has sort of energies and pictures and images, and a lot of art is us taking that from inside like and showing people on the outside what it looks like inside of us.
Yeah.
Do you think that sounds kind of true?
Yes,
What do you
I think so. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So what inspired you to even want to make art in the first place?
Because I think art is something that you can break out of your boundary instead of like there's certain ways to do things if you go to a company or a regular job. But for painting, you have the control of the color, your brushes, your the way you wanted to put like the canvas. So it's very much your own control, and that's why I really wanted to do painting to express the idea of what my intuition is calling me.
But there was an element of you wanted to grow in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I remember correctly from when we'd hung out before, art was not like the original thing that you had thought you wanted to do when you were like a kid. Am I right?
Yeah, I also did fashion design.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because it's like kind of like with, art being this going from inside and taking it out, it seems like part of and that's obviously to me very spiritual, showing what my soul looks like outside. It's like there's this desire of our souls to take what's in it and bring it out. And it also seems like there's this desire from within us to go from something small to something big. Like we want to grow. Do you think that's kind of true?
I totally agree. And also there's a project I did in the past which is collaborating with different musicians. And I would paint a painting for their album cover, which I need to totally listen to their intuition and their music and get my own soul out of the way and think about what their soul want. And in that practice, I would think it's very spiritual because you need to listen to their whole music and their soul calling from the universe as well. And that practice is something that's very new to me, but it really is spiritual.
It's so interesting because when I was like I mentioned, I was speaking to president of Hairpin Art Center, Melody, last week, and she said something similar because Again, I don't know a lot about making art. I always think of art as like it's this me to me. It's like inside me, making it outside of me. But she was saying how art connects us to other people.
Yeah.
How do you see that art connects you to other people?
So when I was little, I go to the museum. And there are certain times I feel really sad, or there are certain times I feel really happy. And the way that I connect to those paintings, I can see how the painter at that moment, they might be really happy. And it would bring out my emotion of like happiness after I go to the museum, see the painting. But there are also times I'm having a good like happy like moment, but then when I walk to the museum, I see some of the painting there, I can see they're in pain. So I really agree on how artists making their emotion onto the painting and express it to the world.
Yeah, it's like
listening to music. Like, yeah, it brings out different emotions.
Yeah, it's like something that is art. I'm starting to think it's like it's a piece of someone's consciousness made physical. And it's sort of frozen. It is what it is. Like, unless you were to keep working on the painting, this painting, which I think is called Hug, right?
Yeah.
Like, Hug is going to be, it's going to be a crystallized expression of Versace as she was making it. And it's going to be that forever, as long as this painting exists.
Yeah.
That's, Do you think that's part of the spiritual awakening of like this power to bring this power to affect the world? Do you think that's part of the spiritual awakening?
Yeah, I really think so.
How do you feel that you wanted your art to affect the world?
I want to give out loving energy, the nature, and calm and peacefulness, like through my art. So no matter they're sad or they're going through hard experiences, and they see it as an art therapy, and afterwards their emotion would change with more loving and more kindness into the world.
Now I haven't really ever done much art therapy, really at all. What does one do in art therapy? Because I know we have some fun things here. You can't read them. They have people's greatest fears and wishes on them. But we're trying to figure out which ones is Nils's. There's no names on it, so we don't know, but we have suspicions. But I joke. What does one do during an art therapy, at least when you do art therapy with people?
I think art therapy is bring out somebody's family, maybe struggles, or what their biggest fear is, and to bring that out will heal them in the future of like decisions.
And do you, like, when you're bringing that out, do you then like make something crystal out of it, like we've been saying? Like, do you put that on canvas or paper or something, like in the actual therapy?
The actor therapy can be in many ways. Like writing is like a kind of way of doing it. Watercolor and making art can be a part of it. But also like collages with magazines. There are lots of ways to do art therapy.
Yeah, it's like, I'm wondering if like it's therapeutic because it's spiritual, that like it's something inside of me and I want to bring it out.
Yeah, totally.
Do you think that human beings are like it's in their nature to want what's inside of them outside of them?
I think there are lots of boundaries between human towards the society, but there's a part of their heart has like a connection with everyone, which is like just wanting to talk to people and have more connections with people. But a lot of the outside would break that. Maybe like how they're born, how their cultures are, or how their like richness and like just female and male. Like a lot of things would like block the boundary of how heart to heart connect.
That's so interesting. And yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think like so much of myself, as I always describe myself as like a golden retriever, because I like connecting with people, or I should say I really don't like having boundaries with people. But I mean, of course, you know, we do need some boundaries, at least here on Earth. When we go to heaven, then we probably don't need them anymore. When everyone's safe and there's nothing to worry about. But that's interesting. So do you think that, like, I'm sure when you're making the art, you know, you're breaking down your boundaries, right? Do you think that when you look at art, like you view art, do you think that like takes down the boundaries around our hearts?
I think specifically if that art has like a meaningful direction towards people, I will create a meaning for it. Maybe, let's say designing a logo, you're creating your own boundary to that company and really serve them. And for art, there's also like certain art you just make for certain people, and that's what they want it, the way they want it. But there's also art that you don't need to have any boundary. It's just from the heart.
So it's kind of like, in a way, like the spirituality of art is kind of like, it's this physical thing that's like playing with our inner self.
Yeah, totally.
And so if I'm hearing you right, it's like some art is like playing to a specific boundary because that boundary is like a form or an idea. And then some art is breaking down a boundary so that you see me.
As me, yeah.
Oh, wow. Which do you prefer to make?
I like both. Only if there's like a certain theme, I think it really gives, the universe might give me a message, or my intuition is like, okay, this theme is very important at this certain time, such as during pandemic time, everyone's like so freaked out, and I did like a series of like being at home can also be like a happiness and like a warm like interior design moment for you, or like a coziness for you. So I did the whole collection of just that theme. But after that period, I don't do pandemic theory at all. So it depends on like the society and how I want to portray it.
It's really just like making me think that art is just human consciousness, just made into an object. Or I guess in the case of like a song or I guess you could still kind of call it an object, or like even like writing it down. That's so interesting. Would you say that the art that is more like playing to a specific boundary is more of like the head, and the one that's breaking it down is more of the heart? Or could it be either?
For me, it's both from the heart. Because even though if there's like a theme I want to do, it's my heart that's calling me to do it. Maybe like more people are wanting to see it, or that's what the world kind of is like struggling with, and that's how I wanting to heal, or how I wanted to do the art therapy way of making them.
That's interesting, because to me, I think like when it's like you want to play to a boundary, I really love cartoons. That's a little something about me. And of course, in cartoons, they put lines around things, in like most cartooning.
Yes.
And so you think of that, that's like literally a boundary of the character or the object. And so I think like, okay, when you're talking about the art with boundaries, I'm thinking like, okay, lines. Because I'm looking at a lot of your pieces, and there are some. But also that's just a expression of you and what you wanted to make in these pieces. But it's interesting to think that something that like, you would think like has a boundary can still be of the heart. Do you think, it's kind of funny because I'm trying to put a boundary on like what you're saying. Why do you think people want to put boundaries on things?
I think boundaries are people trying to protect themselves from harmness of society, of the people, or whatever that happened in the past. Like their family struggles might be a part of their heartness, like they got hurt from the heart, and after that there's going to be like a protection for the heart. So from now on there's like a little thing that can protect them, and that's called boundary.
Yeah, it's like I used to date a person, and she taught me how to look at art, which is like a weird thing. It's like I wasn't in a family that was like super big on art, but she was very art inclined. And I remember like she took me to galleries, and she's like, you got to stand and like just look at it. And it's interesting because I think even some of the boundaries we try to put on things, I think you're right. But I think like if I can label a thing and it makes sense, that's a boundary to protect me. But I think a lot of what I've been learning about spirituality is that the part of you that doesn't have the boundaries, that just experiences the thing without having to put it in a box, that's your more spiritual self. And I'm noticing that when you're making, with all these paintings that are spiritual themes, they're a little more loose. So do you think that like, do you think that more like abstract art is a little bit more like heartfelt?
Totally, yeah.
Do you think that it's a little more heartfelt than you would say like more like still life, or art that's like a picture of something, like a painting of something?
Yeah, I think abstract art can be more from the heart and give more emotion and like expressive brush strokes and expressiveness of themselves towards the painting. Still life is more exactly what they see from like maybe a photography or certain scene they see on the street, and it's easier to capture and just draw it the way it looked.
Would you say that the heart could still be in that kind of an art?
I totally can say, because even like a still life can be your own way of like portraying it from your heart.
Yeah, and even if it isn't, it's like when I look at the still life, my heart is like projected onto it. And so like all the things I feel inside, I feel them with that. I really like that what I think you said you were going for with this particular collection was to give people a loving feeling. Do you think, are brighter colors always like associated with a more loving feeling?
I think, I feel like lighter color will give more warmness, whereas like such as black or like brown and like more darker colors have like a deeper emotions. And I tried it with last musician, and she did like rock and kind of more just like down, really like strong like instrument.
Like more like metal?
Yes, metal.
Oh, okay.
And she wanted it to be black, like image on the painting.
Yeah,
and
naturally.
then, and then I'm like, okay, it really does make sense. Or like certain colors that gives different energy and different emotions.
Okay, I might stump you with this one, but I'm gonna do it anyway. If you were to like say there was like a music to like this kind of art that you made here today, well, I mean over the period of this collection, like what kind of sounds do you think it would be associated with? Like any instruments or types of sounds? Or like would it be words? Would there be words?
Well, it's hard to like get like.
I know. I totally just put you on the spot.
But maybe I feel like the spiritual awakening kind of, this one kind of give me like a Selena Gomez kind of.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like she got like really
Hell
strong
yeah.
like personality with like the girls just stand up for yourself kind of emotions. Yeah.
I feel like it's so interesting because I know it's such a personal thing. You know, I know in art and in symbolism and color, there's like personal stuff and then there's like universal stuff, you know. And maybe this is just kind of like my Christian upbringing, but like I look at that and I just think of like heaven.
Heaven, yeah, that can also be like a church song or a very like lighten up like heaven song for sure.
And it's interesting because, and maybe this is more like an inner reflection of me, which is the beauty of art, is it's like I get to see what Versace felt, but then I also get to see myself in it. So, you know, for anyone looking to be more spiritual, like I really encourage you to go to like an art gallery or a museum and just look at paintings and try not to think too much about them and just see what comes out. Like see yourself in that, like see your own spirit in the art. That was kind of in a way what, you know, my former love had shown me. That's at least what I felt she was trying to teach me. But when I see this, I think, because when I think of heaven, I do think power and strength. And I think of like just like this big, like this chorus or like a lot of trumpets, like a fanfare. And it's just like announcing the arrival of my soul and you know, glory to anyone who's there, you know. It's so interesting to see how people perceive things differently.
I'm so glad that's what you see, and that's what I want to give from this painting too.
Because it's funny, because in a lot of ways,
like strength and power.
Yes, yes. In a lot of ways, like personally, what I want out of spirituality, without sounding like egoic, is to feel a greater sense of power. Like not like over people, but just like my own power. And I'm so glad that you found that for yourself in the art. And in fact, you found it so well, you could even make art out of it. What's like the yellow on this kind of mean to you?
The yellow is also the light. So I feel like the white is like very strong light in the center, but there's also a little warmer light towards it, like surrounding it.
Now, what was your inspiration like culturally for this? Because you're from China, if I'm correct, yeah. And I would say, and obviously I don't know I lived in China, but I don't know everything about Chinese art, because I know it's a big country, a lot of ideas, really creative, awesome people. But you know, this isn't very like traditional Chinese. To me, it almost looks a little more like Western. Do you think there was some like Western influence, or this is just how your heart felt?
I feel like my experience in China, there isn't as much individuality in that country, and how I how my Western like really gives me is find your individuality and your voice from art, and at the same time you can speak up in a lot of ways. And this is also a way of I give my art and try to have more speak up energy. Yeah.
And it's interesting too, because even though the art you kind of wanted to make was a little more individual, you also wanted it to connect you with other people.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's like East and West like came together.
Yeah, because I feel like it's all one, like no matter it's China or like other countries. So this is more just individuality, find your own voice.
If you don't mind me asking, is there any like particular techniques that you use in your art or styles that maybe you still use that you think are kind of more from your, you know, your background or your childhood, your upbringing?
I did calligraphy when I was growing up.
Oh.
And I feel like calligraphy, like the brush stroke, it's so soft and it's also a little flowy. It's giving some of my influence in art too. That's
so interesting because usually when I think of calligraphy, I'm such a messy person. I'd be like so like nervous to do calligraphy.
Yeah.
I think of that as like perfectionism, but you more perceive it as kind of like, that's so interesting because I never really thought of it as a soft thing.
There is a Chinese like way of drawing. It's called 山水画, which is like mountain, and usually the calligraphy would make it not specifically like a mountain, but more of like how the water flows during the ink, and that's also very like relaxed and flowy instead of like a very sketchy. You have to have like each line at the perfect.
Is that like when you think of that, is that like you think of you know, the stereotypical, it's like this kind of rounded mountains like type of pictures? Oh, okay. Huh. It's also funny that I'm seeing some of like my cultural biases and stereotypes, yet the human soul comes out in art no matter where you are. And I think it's interesting to think of, I mean, I don't want to speak too much for American people, but you know, I think some people in America, where they think of China as very strict and regimented, and it's so easy to forget because those same people would recognize those paintings or like calligraphy and be like, no, this is a soft and relaxed and free expression. Because we're all the same. But you said you prefer more of like the individuality.
Yeah, I do feel like everyone have their individuality within themselves, and expression of who they are is more important than being in a structure.
Would you say that this particular collection is like the most representative of you, or was there another collection? Or would you say they're all me?
I think they're all me. Yeah, there's like more poetry side of me, music side of me, nature side of me, and this is the spiritual side of me.
That's yeah. I mean, we're multifaceted. Again, I was trying to put you in a boundary.
You're
I need
right.
to feel safe.
You're right.
I need to look at that painting.
Yeah, you're like, what
like,
specifically really represent you?
Yeah, I look at that painting. That's kind of Versace, but not really. You know.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, I usually like to give some time at the end of the show to just invite you, if there's anything you want to say from your heart, whether it's like about art, about this particular collection, or just something you want to say to the audience. You know, is there something else that you want to share before we start like wrapping up?
I think it's this small like therapy that we did throughout the show, which is writing your biggest fear and wishes. And my point of view is like the more you face your biggest fear, the wish is going to come true. And like really believing yourself of how those wishes are within yourself. It's everybody can like have their dream come true.
I have often said that during these shows, one thing that is just a really special thing for me is basically every show, you know, my guest will say something and it's God talking to me. And that was it, you know, because I'm about to do something very scary. I'm about to move. And I know we're going to do one of these after. and I am very afraid that when I move and go after certain things, that like it might be setting me up to fail later. But maybe if I go after that thing that I'm afraid of, I'll have this experience.
Yeah.
I really hope so. If someone wanted to, like, they feel something like artistic within them and they wanted to get started, what advice would you give them?
I would say everyone is an artist through different ways. So just use your pen or any pencil, draw a sketch every day or the way you wanted to express it, or even just like cut out magazines, cut out collages and put them on a paper, and you would see like your vision toward like a mood board. And if you don't know how to draw, like play around with a mood board of like a collage would be like the best way to express yourself.
Would you say that these 10 years of making art, have they made your spirit stronger?
Yes, I really feel that because there was my first art show, which is last year, and I've never had an art show of my own painting. And it was the first time I see somebody that look at my painting and start crying and say there's something that resonate with them. And she comes to me and say that painting really is helping her through her breakout. And that is the moment I feel like my spiritual is saying this is your hard work that pays off, because there's somebody that looks at it and feel like their spiritual is awakening too.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well then, as we wrap up, God, I'm so committed to this bit of the plugging your shit, and it's like now it's like inappropriate because we just had this very nice thing. But I'm gonna say it anyway. Now is the time you can plug your shit. Where can people find you? Where can people find you?
Yes, so my website is www.versaceart.com, and you can also follow me on Instagram as Elaine Versace and Versace Art #1, and that's like all of my social media.
And of course, we are in the Hook Space Art Gallery in the Fine Arts Building here on Michigan Avenue in Chicago right now. People, again, obviously in the Chicagoland area, you can probably check out Versace's Instagram page and see where she's been having lots of shows and galleries. We would tell you about them. This is going to be a